Welcome to the deep dive. We take your source material and try to find the most important parts, the most interesting ideas. We're talking about Bitcoin today, specifically about its potential to change finance as we know it. And to help us, we're going to be using insights from our interview with Dr. Armin Magurian, founder and CEO of Timestamp.
Sounds good.
So one of the things that stood out to me from our source material was Dr. Magurian's prediction that we'll soon be seeing countries, nations, start adopting Bitcoin as part of their reserves, their strategic reserves. That's a big statement. What do you think would happen if that actually starts happening?
I mean, it could be a huge change, I think. Unlike currencies that are controlled by central banks, Bitcoin has a fixed supply. Nobody can just print more.
Right.
And that makes it a hedge against inflation, which is obviously a big concern for a lot of countries right now.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I've already seen a little bit of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
El Salvador adopted Bitcoin as legal tender, back in 2021?
Yeah, and while it's just a small nation, it's something that people are paying attention to, It's like a test. Like, can Bitcoin really function as a national currency? With all the complexities that come with that. If they can actually do it, if they can stabilize their economy, attract foreign investment, other countries might start to do the same thing.
Especially the ones that are having trouble, with inflation or just generally instability in their economy. It's like finding a life raft when your own currency is going down.
Right. Exactly.
Now think about what that means for geopolitics.
Right.
We know that countries like Russia, China, they're exploring Bitcoin as well.
Yeah.
I mean, what happens if major players start shifting away from the U.S. dollar? The whole balance of economic power could shift.
Yeah. It's almost like an arms race.
But with Bitcoin.
But instead of weapons, they're stockpiling Bitcoin. And we don't know how this race will end, but we know the stakes are very high.
Okay, so let's bring it back down to earth a little bit. Let's talk about how everyday people, not people running countries, can participate in all of this. Our source material mentions Uphold as a platform that is making crypto investing easier. What is it about them that's different?
Well, they have a wide range of offerings. They support over 300 cryptocurrencies, but they also let you invest in precious metals like gold and silver.
Oh, okay.
That's appealing to a lot of investors. They want to diversify. They want to protect themselves from different kinds of economic risks.
So you can have, your Bitcoin and your gold all together.
Mm-hmm.
Now, security is a big concern for anyone who's thinking about getting into crypto. What does Uphold do to address that?
I think especially with crypto, transparency and security are super important. Uphold doesn't lend customer funds. That's something that has gotten other companies in trouble. They also provide full reserve reports so they can prove they actually hold the assets that their customers have invested in.
No funny business going on.
Exactly. Transparency like that is essential to build trust, especially in a space that's still relatively new.
All right, let's talk about Dr. Magurian. I mean, he left a career in neurosurgery to pursue Bitcoin. That's got to be a big leap of faith.
It is.
So tell me how he got involved in Bitcoin.
He came across it in 2013 while visiting Armenia. He wasn't sure about it at first, but the technology, its potential, it made him curious. He dove in, learned everything he could, and in 2016, he left medicine behind and dedicated himself to Bitcoin.
And why? Why Bitcoin? I mean, there's a quote from our source material where he says, "My love for Bitcoin and disappointment with the medical system intersected at the right time." What do you think he means by that?
I think it was a combination of passion and disillusionment. Bitcoin was a way for him to break free from the limits of the existing financial system, to be part of something new.
Like he saw a better future, a future where people have more control over their money.
Exactly. And that vision is something a lot of people in the Bitcoin community share. They see it as a way to fix problems in the current system.
Speaking of which, let's talk about Timestamp. Dr. Magurian founded it to support businesses that are building on the Bitcoin blockchain. What's their mission?
Well, they want to provide a way for Bitcoin-based businesses to raise capital from investors all over the world. And I think what's really interesting is that they want to give equal access to both accredited and non-accredited investors.
So again, we see that idea of breaking down barriers and making sure everyone has a chance to participate.
Yeah. And Dr. Magurian said, we want to ensure equal access to investments for both accredited and non-accredited investors.
So how do they actually do that? Attract new projects and make it fair for investors?
Transparency and low barriers to entry.
Yeah.
That attracts a lot of different projects, and it makes it easier for smaller investors to take part. Within weeks of launching, Timestamp already had 8 projects on board, and 2 of those were already successfully raising funds.
Wow, that's impressive. But let's be real for a second. Investing in startups, even in the world of Bitcoin, is risky,
Oh, absolutely. There's no guarantees.
right?
And the crypto market can change very quickly. But Timestamp is trying to reduce that risk. They give investors detailed information about each project, and they try to make sure investors can actually communicate with the company founders.
So it's more than just throwing money at something you don't really understand.
Yeah, they want to make sure investors can do their research, understand the project, and then make a decision.
I like that. It's like they're trying to build a community, not just a platform.
Exactly. They have tools for doing research, and they also have discussion forums and educational resources.
Very cool. Well, I think we've covered a lot here, but there's definitely a lot more to talk about.
It's interesting to see how differently people are adopting Bitcoin in different parts of the world.
Hmm.
In some places, it's seen as like a way to survive,
Yeah.
a way to protect yourself from hyperinflation or collapsing currencies. Right.
And in other places, it's seen as more of a long-term investment, a way to protect yourself from economic uncertainty in the future.
It's like Bitcoin has all these different uses depending on where you are and what your needs are. It can be a tool for survival or a way to speculate.
Yeah, exactly. Take South America, for example.
Correct.
A lot of those countries have had problems with their economies,
Yeah.
with hyperinflation.
Mm-hmm.
And for those people, Bitcoin offers a way to protect their savings, to have something that's stable, something that their government can't just mess with.
It's like a safety net that can't be taken away.
And then you have the West, where economies are more stable.
Yeah.
Here, Bitcoin is often seen as a way to make a lot of money quickly.
A high risk, high reward kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. But I think more and more people are starting to see Bitcoin as something that could fundamentally change how we think about money and finance.
I see.
It's decentralized, it's
Mm-hmm.
transparent,
Mm-hmm.
it goes beyond borders, it challenges everything about the traditional financial system. Right, right. And this is where Dr. Magurian's story is so interesting. He didn't get into Bitcoin just to make money.
Mm-hmm.
He saw it as a way to fix a system that he thought was broken.
He was a neurosurgeon. He saw firsthand the problems with the healthcare system.
Yeah.
And Bitcoin, for him, represented a way to create a better, more fair and transparent future, not just in healthcare, but in everything.
So he saw the potential for Bitcoin to bring about positive change on a bigger scale.
Exactly. And a lot of people in the Bitcoin community feel the same way.
Yeah. Okay, let's talk more about Timestamp.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about how they're trying to give everyone equal access to investment opportunities.
Mm-hmm.
But how did they decide which projects to support?
They have a strict vetting process.
Okay.
They look at the team, the problem they're trying to solve, the technology, and of course, whether it aligns with Bitcoin's core principles, decentralization, and transparency.
So they're not just letting anyone on their platform, they're being selective.
Yeah, they're curating the projects. They want to build trust with investors and make sure they're only supporting high-quality ventures.
Makes sense. And it seems to be working. They launched with 8 projects, and 2 of them were already successfully raising money within weeks. That's a good sign.
Yeah, the demand is definitely there. And as Bitcoin becomes more mainstream, we're going to see even more innovative projects.
But investing in early-stage companies, even if they're using Bitcoin, is always a risk.
Of course, of course.
So how does Timestamp help investors manage that risk?
They give investors as much information as possible about each project, detailed documents, financial projections, regular updates.
Transparency is key.
It is.
And they also encourage direct communication between investors and the project founders.
Yeah, it's not just about reading reports.
Right.
It's about connecting with the people behind the project, understanding their vision, and building trust.
Even in the world of Bitcoin, human connection is important.
Exactly. And that's something that's very strong in the Bitcoin community, that sense of community.
Yeah.
That belief in the potential of this technology to make things better. And platforms like Timestamp are helping to build that community.
Now, before we move on, I want to come back to something we talked about earlier, the risks associated with Bitcoin. Volatility is one.
Yeah.
But are there other concerns that investors should keep in mind?
Well, regulations around Bitcoin are still changing all the time.
Right?
And they're different in every country. That can make things uncertain for businesses and for investors.
So it's important to do your research not just on the projects, but also on the laws in your own country.
Exactly. You have to stay informed. And then there's security.
Yeah.
Bitcoin, like anything digital, can be hacked.
Mm-hmm.
So investors need to take steps to protect themselves.
That's true. It's like you're your own bank, so you have to be responsible for your own security.
Exactly. You use strong passwords,
Mm-hmm.
two-factor authentication,
Mm-hmm.
and keep your Bitcoin in a secure wallet.
Okay, good advice.
And that's something that's different from traditional investing.
Mm-hmm.
With Bitcoin, you have more control, but you also have more responsibility.
I think we've done a pretty good job of explaining both the good and the bad when it comes to Bitcoin,
I think so.
but we've still got more to cover. We've talked a lot about the big picture stuff with Bitcoin, global reserve currency, fighting inflation, even the philosophy behind it.
Hmm.
But I think a lot of people still struggle to see how it's being used in real life. How are people actually using Bitcoin today?
That's the really exciting part. I mean, we're seeing Bitcoin being used for all sorts of things, from remittances, like sending money across borders quickly and cheaply, to microloans for entrepreneurs in developing countries.
It's like Bitcoin is bypassing the traditional systems, letting people connect and transact directly.
Exactly. I mean, there are organizations using Bitcoin to give aid directly to refugees. They can get around all the bureaucracy and make sure that the money gets to the people who need it quickly and securely.
That's amazing. It's like a lifeline for people who are often left out of the traditional financial systems.
Right. And then there are platforms like Bitwage, I think it's called.
Okay.
It lets people get paid in Bitcoin, their salaries. It gives them more control over their money and can even help protect them from currency devaluation in their home country.
So it's not just about getting rich quick.
No.
It's about real people using it to solve problems and create opportunities.
And I think that's what's so powerful about Bitcoin. It's not just about technology. It's about people.
It's about empowering people.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to Dr. McGurry and Timestamp. Their focus on giving everyone equal access to investment opportunities. I mean, that's a perfect example of this people-centric approach.
Mm-hmm.
But they're doing more than just funding projects, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They see Timestamp as a way to build a whole ecosystem around Bitcoin.
Okay.
They're educating investors, they're promoting the projects, and they're creating a community of people who believe in the potential of this technology.
So they're not just throwing money at things, they're nurturing the whole system.
Exactly. They're providing mentorship to entrepreneurs, connecting them with partners, helping them figure out all the legal and regulatory stuff.
It's like they're creating a space where Bitcoin-based processes can grow and thrive.
That's a good way to put it. And it's working. The projects on Timestamp are attracting investors from all over the world. People are starting to have more confidence in Bitcoin.
It's pretty incredible to think that all of this potential to change industries and empower people came from a single white paper written by, someone calling themselves Satoshi Nakamoto back in 2008.
It just shows you the power of ideas.
Yeah.
And the fact that Bitcoin has survived this long, despite all the doubts, the regulations, even the arguments within the community, that's a testament to its resilience and its potential. But like we said before, it's not without its risks.
Right.
The price can be volatile, the regulations are always changing, and there's always the risk of security breaches. These are things investors need to be aware of.
And it's important to remember that Bitcoin isn't for everyone.
Definitely not.
It requires a certain level of risk tolerance and a willingness to learn and adapt, and of course, a belief in the long-term potential of this technology.
You shouldn't just blindly follow the hype. You need to do your research and understand the risks.
Absolutely. And I think that's where platforms like Timestamp are so valuable.
Yeah.
They're not just about making money.
No.
They're about giving people the tools and information they need to make good decisions and navigate this new world.
It's about empowering people to take control of their own financial future.
So after all this, what do you want our listeners to take away from this deep dive into Bitcoin? What should they be thinking about?
I think the most important thing is to realize that Bitcoin is more than just a digital currency.
Mm.
It's a technological innovation. It's a social movement. It has the potential to make things better.
Whether or not you decide to invest in it, it's something worth understanding.
Something that's changing the world.
It's shaping the future of finance, and it's making us ask some really important questions about money and power and control.
It's forcing us to look at our current systems and ask if they could be better. Could they be more fair, more transparent, more accessible?
Exactly.
And those are questions worth thinking about, no matter what you think about Bitcoin. We've covered a lot of ground today, and I hope we've sparked your curiosity. If you're interested in learning more about Timestamp, you can visit their website at timestampfinancial.com.
And don't forget, the world of Bitcoin is constantly changing.
Right.
So keep learning, stay informed, and if you're thinking about investing, always talk to a financial advisor.
That's great advice. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you next time as we continue to explore the ideas that are shaping our world.